Hello, today we are going to learn how to multiply and divide mixed numbers. I hope you are feeling really good about multiplying and dividing fractions. I think that most of you feel like it is easier than adding and subtracting fractions. So today we're just going to add one extra element when multiplying mixed numbers, and the big thing is step number one here is to rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. Once you rewrite those mixed numbers as improper fractions, you do exactly like you have been. You cross-cancel or simplify your numerators and denominators if possible, and then you multiply across your numerators and multiply across your denominators. Okay, let's do a couple of problems. First, I am going to change my mixed number to improper fractions. So on 5 2/5 times 3 1/3, I am going to multiply 5 times 5, which is 25, add my numerator 2, which is 27 fifths, because I keep my denominator the same, and then 3 1/3, I take 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1 is 10, that is 10 thirds. Now I have a multiplication problem that should look similar to what we did last week. I look to see if there are any numerators that I can cancel or simplify with a denominator, and I do have, I can simplify 27 and 3. I can divide those both by 3, so 3 becomes 1, 27 becomes 9. I can simplify 5 and 10 by dividing those both by 5, so 5 becomes 1, and 10 becomes 2. I'm just going to multiply across the top. 9 times 2 is 18, 1 times 1 is 1, and I should rewrite that as a whole number, 18. On the bottom, I have 4 1/2 times 8. I'm going to rewrite them both as improper fractions. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So this first fraction is equivalent to 9 halves, and 8 is 8 over 1. I check to see if there are any numerators and denominators that I can simplify, and I can simplify 2 and 8 by 2, so 2 becomes 1, 8 becomes 4, then I multiply across the top and get 36 over 1 on the bottom, and that's 36 as a whole number. Now, dividing mixed numbers, if you remember, we didn't really divide fractions. We realized that it was just easier to change to multiplying the reciprocal or changing division to multiplication and then flipping your second fraction. Well, same thing goes here. If you are dividing mixed numbers, first you have to change them to improper fractions, and then you just follow the same thing that you were doing before. So we're going to rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions, then we're going to do keep, change, flip, where we keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. And like I said, you'll also hear that referred to as multiply by the reciprocal. Here are two examples of dividing mixed numbers. First, change them to improper fractions. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That is 5 halves. Please do not write this as multiplication until you have changed the second fraction to an improper fraction. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. We have not changed this to multiplication yet. All we did was rewrite our mixed number as an improper fraction. Now that you have an improper fraction, you can keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and flip your second fraction. Please be careful not to change it to multiplication as you are rewriting it as an improper fraction, because you will forget to flip that second fraction or multiply by the reciprocal. On here, you can simplify 2 and 4. 2 becomes 1, 4 becomes 2, multiply across the top, and you get 10 sevenths. You can leave it as 10 sevenths as an improper fraction, or you could rewrite it as a mixed number. 7 goes into 10 one time. There are 3 left over, so 1 3/7. On the bottom, again, rewrite these as improper fractions. So 12 over 1 divided by 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Now it's still a division problem, so we want to change it to multiplication. So you keep the first fraction, 12 over 1, change division to multiplication, and flip your second fraction upside down, You check to see if there is anything you can simplify or cancel, which 12 and 10 you can divide by 2, so 12 would be 6, 10 would be 5. And so on the top you have 6 times 3, which is 18, 1 times 5, which is 5. And again, you can leave it as 18/5 as an improper fraction, or you can ask yourself, 5 can go into 18 3 times. There are 3 left over, so that's equivalent to your mixed number 3 3/5. I'm going to leave you with 2 main thoughts. The first one is knowing the big difference between adding and subtracting fractions. When you add and subtract fraction, you must have a common denominator. When you multiply and divide fractions, you do not need a common denominator. And then the last thing that I want to leave you with is the common big mistake when people multiply and divide fractions. And I'm going to give you an example. When people multiply and divide mixed numbers, this is a very common mistake. On 5 2/5 times 3 1/3, a lot of people will just multiply the whole numbers and get 15, and then just multiply the fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 3 is 15. This will not work, okay? Please do not do that. You must change them to improper fractions first.